You guys go see Naked Gun this weekend?
I'm seeing it tomorrow.
I saw it yesterday.
So no spoilers. No spoilers.
No spoilers. It's
No
really
spoilers. Funny. That's good. That's a good joke.
I enjoyed it. I had a great time.
Yeah, a lot of old style physical comedy, and just that quick wordplay. That was like, you can tell that they're like actually Zucker fans and Abrams.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think he's a fan of them. He seems to be kind of dismissing the film and wanting.
Yeah, I heard the same. I'm friends with Dian Bahar, who played Squeak in Basketball, and he was telling me that David Zucker is pretty cheesed about this whole situation. He says that David Zucker, he treats comedy like music. He's got this rhythm to it, and there's these gags that have a certain pacing to them and certain layering, as you would in an orchestral composition where several gags are going on at the same time. He said, these guys don't know how to do that. I'm the only guy who can do that. So,
but that makes me think he hasn't seen the movie, because they did actually do that.
I mean, I'm sure
a pretty fair amount in the movie.
I'm sure he's just not seeing it like out of spite, because he's probably like, this is my fucking thing,
I mean,
he can rest easy knowing they're never going to remake Hot Shots.
Well,
or Scary Movie 3.
Well, they are remaking Scary Movie.
They are, yeah.
That's true.
There's new ones
they're bringing the Wayans back, though, so the original...
I wonder if they're going to doing the A24 movies and stuff, or if that's like a broad enough
Probably.
I think, yeah.
Well, they did that fifth one, 2013, and they were already making fun of Paranormal Activity and the beginning of all the Blumhouse stuff. So I don't rule it out. Anyway, speaking of horror movies, let's talk. Let's chat. Let's do it.
Today we are joined with writer, director, musician, artist, experimental, everything you can think of, all mixed into one. Danny Perez. Thank you, Danny, for being here.
This is going to be a dumb question. Is this just the audio, or is this the video as well?
It's the video as well.
All right, cool. With a very background, I apologize to everyone. But
it's all good. It's all good. We can add some stuff later in post, maybe some creatures walking behind you or in front of you, like Star Wars.
With the blonde hair, you kind of look a little angelic. You look sort of
yeah,
a little
godly.
Jesus-esque.
Yeah, it's godly.
Hopefully by the holidays, my dark will come back in. But anywho, nice to see you guys. Thanks for coming in. I don't get to talk about Antibirth too often, and it's been a minute, so it should be fun.
Yeah, it's been almost a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Remiss to acknowledge that, but yeah, in 2026, it'll be a decade. I feel like there's I'm actually trying to catch up on the 2010. What are they? That's not the aughts, I guess the tens. But yeah,
teens.
At this point, we're halfway through the 2020s, and there's definitely a large swath. I wouldn't say movement or genre, but there's definitely just a lot of films made in the 2010s that I'm actually not familiar with. And now that we're all drowning in a glut of streamers, from Netflix to Shudder to Tubi, which I've actually been tapping into Tubi a bit lately because they have so much of the
horror stuff is excellent.
A lot of horror stuff and a lot of really shitty B movies and lo-fi stuff that I get a kick out of and I enjoy watching. But anywho, I guess all to say there were a lot of films made in that decade that I actually didn't catch up on, and I kind of tuned out for a couple of years towards the end there, or rather the end of that decade, and I've been trying to catch up now.
Nice. Have you? What are some notable ones that you've seen on Tubi?
I mean, I don't know if I could argue if I would recommend them. But Killer Nerd was interesting, was fun. I tried watching Spielberg's daughter has one on there right now. That was like a home invasion. I think it's the woman from Downton Abbey plays not a home invasion, a kids knocking on the door in the middle of the night and the lady lets them in, and then all kind of things happen. My goodness, am I embarrassing myself? I can't remember the name of it, but that one was pretty good. What else did I watch? I tried to rewatch Toxic Avenger recently in anticipation for the release of summer, and I realized that I don't like Toxic Avenger. Like, as I was watching, I was like, oh yeah, I remember not liking this even as a teenager. So, I don't know if I have an affinity for that stuff. But I'd have to check my queue, so to speak, to see
Fair,
what.
fair, fair. But that's a good starting spot there. But I agree with you with the Toxic Avenger. Like I'm oddly excited for the new movie that's coming out. But when I was a kid, like I remember not liking the movies. There was like an animated TV series, and I remember that was shitty. I had a lot of the toys for some reason. I had a lot of like Toxie toys.
Hmm.
But I think that was the extent of the enjoyment that I got from that franchise.
Yeah, I
So
don't. I like a lot of really campy B movie stuff, but I actually don't. I didn't like the trauma stuff, even as a snarky teenager. There's kind of like a meanness to
mhm.
them that I think I didn't respond to. Mind you, I like mean stuff. There's definitely a period in my 20s and 30s where I like misanthropic, like kind of Michael Haneke style like films. But yeah, I just the trauma stuff I never responded to even as a kid. And when I've tried to go back and watch it, I'm just like, yeah, it's a little too like the performances are a little too lowbrow and like shitty, and the sex stuff in it is like so aggressive and so a little like gnarly at times that even as a horny teenager, I was just like, oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, so it's we live in a remix culture, so
Mhm.
getting thrown into the blender, but
How would you feel if somebody remade Antibirth?
uh give me a check, that's fine. I laugh because I don't see that happening anytime soon.
You never know. They're gotta go down the well, you know.
I mean, I actually think that'd be a more interesting approach to remakes in this whole culture we live in. It's like, let's take something that this remake films that weren't that successful on the like the idea was good, the kernel was there, but now with today's technology and today's sensibilities as far as a mood shift, let's remake those films. But this constant need to remake things that were already successful, and mind you, that from a business that makes perfect
Mhm.
sense, recognizability, yada yada. But I think that would be a more interesting approach. Like, I would love. I mean, I know they won't do this with the new Masters of the Universe, but it's like, yeah, make like a super glammed out, like homoerotic, like space disco version of that now with like crazy effects. Like, I would love to see that movie, but they won't do that.
I heard they're gonna remake Deathstalker.
Really?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are. It's Steve Kostansky.
A much more PC version of Deathstalker, I'd imagine, but nonetheless, yeah,
Well,
taking a movie
I
where
actually think that
the
it could be good.
execution worked against it.
It could be good though because I don't have you guys seen any films by Steven Kostansky? He did like Psycho Gorman and The Void.
What's funny is actually when I was making Antibirth, the effect
Hmm.
shop I was in, he was making creatures for the void, and
Oh yeah.
I remember just like going to having being lucky enough to see them working on stuff and just gushing and kissing his ass for like an hour in a shop. Like, these are beautiful. Oh my god, these are so amazing. And he, I think we we had a nice conversation. He appreciated me being enthusiastic. This was before the void had come out, so I didn't even
Mhm.
know what the hell he was doing. I didn't see Psycho Gorman. I actually did he do Frankie Frico?
He did, yeah.
I really loved Frankie Frico. I
That's
know
hilarious.
shitty and like, but I appreciate how far they took it as far as
Yeah.
like the third act story of the world. Some of the designs weren't as successful as others, but
Mhm.
I do have a really soft spot for that genre of like rubber foam monster, like Rumpelstiltskin and Leprechaun.
Mhm.
Those like shitty like late '90s movies. I do love. That's another film like I wouldn't recommend per se to people if you like those films in the genre, certainly. But I had a great time with that. And yeah, it's fucking hard getting those films financed and anything with like prosthetics or creature.
Mhm.
It's just a red flag to people as far as financing and producers. So that was definitely something I struggled with on Antibirth. The second it got into that part of the script, it was hard to convince people to do it.
Right on. Yeah, so let's
Which
jump
that's
back to
surprising because
Antibirth
that's
then.
one of my favorite parts of the movies. Like the second I
Oh
see a
yeah.
prosthetic arm or like I guess we can spoil it, but the head that she gives birth to, I'm like, yes, this is great.
Yeah,
Like
it's
this is
real.
I
Yeah.
want more of that in everything, just because yeah, like just the craft that goes into it is just so
No, it's
like
super fun, but it's tricky because yeah, I think to people like us, and the tide is turning a little bit. I think that's becoming a marketing point, right? People will say, "Oh, it's not practical effects," because they know that there is an audience for that and people that are excited about it. But yeah, it's so laborious and so hard. Like literally, it took three, maybe four people. I would say three to operate the head on Antibirth as far as the animatronics and all the controls and such. And because it's so budget and so last minute, they didn't really get to like rehearse with the head and the full controls until like the day of on
yeah.
set, which is fucking crazy. Like and mind you, it's not their fault. It's not anyone's fault. It's just the nature of trying to cram so much into a tiny vessel as far as budget. But in a big movie and a big production, they have rehearsal and puppeteers, and then they even do a camera test with it. Like we were literally just like shoving it on set and being like, all right, let's hope this works. And mind you, like we knew it would work as far as the controls and the actual mechanics, but just as far as performance and how it looks. So, but that's it's a tough
But that
part.
could have also kind of like helped because I'm kind of thinking of it in a way where it's like if they hadn't had the chance to rehearse with it, like you can really kind of get a sense that they're like, holy shit, what is this? Because it's like they're actually seeing it for like the first time.
Totally, totally. And there is, something to be said, even like when you're on set or making this stuff, the illusion can be ruined a little bit as far as seeing behind the curtain, so to speak.
Hmm.
So when you're seeing the thing like sitting on a cooler or not underneath the light, or you're like kind of takes away the magic a little bit. So yeah, there's certainly a shock value that can be used to your advantage. Like when Meg Tilly gets blasted in the face with this, vaginal discharge and goo from the birthing process, like that was like a one and done. And she was down and she was really a sport about it while shooting it, but it was very much like nope, do it once and do it hard, do it again, and we did a test like outside to show her what we were doing as far as the fire extinguisher against a piece of wood, so you could see the level of propulsion, so to speak. But yes, oftentimes when you do that, there's not a lot of resetting or getting to do it multiple times. So you have to, make sure you get it.
It
Yeah.
turned out so well that is like one of my favorite moments because it does like feel so real. And it's so quick. It's like one of those, I love that in horror movies where it's like, I don't know, maybe it's because like my mind is warped, but I find like this humor in these things that are just so over the top.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
No, I agree. I mean, I share a similar sense of humor, like a gonzo energy and just like a kind of like a reckless abandon that comes with stuff like that. That can be oddly invigorating.
totally,
Well,
totally.
it's a great combo between like ew and also awesome.
Yeah.
Like that perfect like especially like the last 5 minutes of this is just constantly me having that reaction where I'm just like I love how like in the scene where she's got that giant blister on the bottom of her foot and she's like draining it with like a kitchen knife. I'm just like ew, but also like I love that they put this much effort into making such a disgusting scene.
That was a
Like
lot of effort, actually. Yeah, there's a long makeup application. It took a long time to apply that prosthetic. I don't know if they had to do a mold of her foot exactly because it is kind of just like an adhesive on. But yeah, that was another thing where it's like you're only going to get one take of this as far as the amount of I think it was KY jelly inside of it that comes out. But I think we actually add. I think that's a good example too of a 98% practical, and then I think I added a streak of black goo or blood into the discharge, so it didn't look just like KY. And it's subtle, but like it's there. So like I'm not necessarily opposed to digital commingling with practical. Like I think that movie, Slither, that James Gunn movie, is
Mhm.
like one of the best examples of like digital and practical kind of working together. So it's something I strive for or would like to get back in that sandbox again.
Totally. Yeah, so with Antibirth, so this was like you you had a history in making visual art, films, experimental, some might say. ODDSAC being the one that kind of came right before this. Was it like difficult for you to kind of change your sensibilities from making something that's more abstract to making something that's closer to a traditional film?
Oh yeah, totally. I think I was younger, fucking 10 years ago at this point. A little more headstrong and confident. You know, the world has done a good job of kicking us all in the balls the past 10 years. But I do remember specifically there was like a moment before the first day where I was like, at a certain point with filmmaking like this, you are only as good as your team that you put around you, whether that's the DP or the production designer or the art department. So, when you hire a good team, you're in good hands. And at a certain point, it does kind of become automated as far as like, you have an experienced DP, they're going to tell you how to get the coverage you need or how to maximize certain shots and such. But there are certain things where, like, literally before the first day, it had occurred to me, I was like, I'm about to direct Chloe 70 in a scene, and I haven't shot fucking people talking since film school. Like, I've just been making weird visuals and like people like pulling goo out of walls for the past 10 years. Like, I haven't actually like, I know what a bad performance is as far as like being an audience person and watching, and I know what overacting is as far as when I see it. But as far as like being in the fucking room with like an actress who's worked with like David Fincher and Woody Allen and all these motherfuckers, like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And so yeah, there was definitely a like a gulp moment before the first day. But like I said, it does it's just automated. And once it starts happening, you kind of tune that stuff out. And once you're like watching the monitor, you kind of revert back to like, well, I know what bad acting is. I know what shitty writing is as far as like when I see it and hear it. So as long as you can let go of your ego and kind of revert back to that perspective, I think it's helpful. And I would say that to anyone out there who's second guessing themselves as a filmmaker or doubting their ability to do it. It's like, we're all fans ideally, right? Like of the medium of film. So you know what a shitty movie is like, and you know what a bad performance is like. And as long as you can have the lens to be critical of yourself, like, I'm a decent writer. I'm not primarily a writer. And like, there's definitely things that were said, whatever, that did not translate well to a performance that we had to modify during the set or during the shoot. So, just be open to that. And anyway, I'm rambling now, but all to say, yes, that was significant, but I had a good team, and early on the actors were very supportive and let me know that they trusted me, so that went a long way. But yeah, you have to have a little bit of a false confidence to kind of keep going.
Did you write the word breasteses into the script?
How are your breasteses?
Which part was that?
That's like at the beginning when she's at Anna's house asking her for like pills or something to help her with her symptoms.
In the scene. That scene, I would actually argue that should be cut. It was like one of the early, the DP hated it. After the edit, he said, "Danny, cut that scene." It's just like visually very boring. It's pretty shittily shot. It's just like medium shot, medium shot. You have like it's like it doesn't really give you much more information that we wouldn't have gotten out of the following scene at the get. It's like it's kind of like it wasn't shot that well. So when I do kind of cringe whenever I have seen that scene. Anyway, little BTS for the audience. But
well, I think it helps. I think it helps establish their dynamic pretty early, like in a way that it feels not so expository. I mean, it's you kind of need that connecting tissue for her to have that reaction to what we were just shown with the party, and like, was that a dream sequence? Oh no, this is real, and that's her sort of like memory of it.
And there was a handful of other more like hangout scenes or people in their world that I had written that you just end up having to cut because of various production reasons. But that was something I kind of wanted to have in the movie, which I think is missing. I didn't get to do. Is more of like a hangout feel as far as an atmosphere with all these different kind of nefarious characters and just weirdos kind of coming in and out. And you get them here and there, but there's definitely a handful more written in the script that I was hoping to kind of populate the world more with.
The dynamic between Chloe and Natasha's characters was some of my favorite stuff in the movie, because there's just they clearly have really good chemistry, and I'm assuming they were probably friends beforehand, so that really helped play into they weren't really acting.
That was actually, I think, what attracted them to the project was getting to do something together, which they hadn't gotten to do in a while, and they liked that element of the movie. They liked the kind of the organic kind of hangout dialogue and those scenes. And yeah, I mean, I could shoot Chloe dancing to Suicide for fucking 12 hours. Like when she did that on set, we were just like, what? This is so fucking awesome. And and I would tell her, okay, do it a little more sultry or do it a little more sloppy and playful. And she was fucking on a dime, could do it every time. And it was just so engaging and so fun. Which is probably why I hold on it a little bit longer in the movie. But yeah, that was they were friends beforehand, and Natasha was a producer on the movie, and yeah, the movie wouldn't have gotten made if it wasn't for them coming onto it. But it was definitely a weird, so many different cooks in the kitchen, all thinking they were making a different movie, my included. So it's there's that's always a story with movies like this. Like there's anyway, just a lot of different cooks.
Well, I saw an interview that she was giving, I think, at the premiere, and she said that you guys knew each other beforehand, you and Natasha, and you essentially wrote the role in the movie for her. So I'm curious, like, how did that what was sort of the origin? Like, you write the script for her, and then are you bringing it to her, and then she's taking it to financiers, or like, how did that all go down?
You just answered your own question.
Okay. Well, then I'll move on to another question.
No, but look, yeah, literally, I knew her. This is kind of before Orange is the New Black, and her career had this like second incarnation, and just amazing success that she's had now. Anyway, so I'd written this thing for her, and I'd always been a fan before I was even friends with her. Just as a movie lover and an audience member, I just thought that's the kind of chick I like in a movie and the kind of person I want to hang out with. So I wrote the thing for her, and then we took her around to a lot of financiers, but it wasn't easy. It still took like fucking 3, maybe 5 years of knocking on doors and getting people's attention. It definitely opened a lot of doors, like having Natasha and Chloe attached. But once people read the script and saw my work, they were just like, "Wait, what? Wait, what?" And so it was hard to get it financed, and that's why we ended up getting a lot of money from a Canadian kind of tax incentive, and then you use that money to attract other money, and then I mean, if you for those of you who watch the movie for the first time, like look at the length of the fucking producer credits. There are more producers than actors in the fucking movie.
It's one less producer than actors.
And I mean, I met maybe 3 of them. I don't know who these fucking people are. Like
one of them is Natasha.
No, dude, she was amazing. She saved my ass so many times. She went to bat for me. Like we were getting bullied a lot by like some of the team in Canada, and she definitely like stuck by me and helped me get it made. And they definitely was a strong presence for me on the set and like helped me get it made. Like 100%, the movie would not have gotten made without her. I mean, it doesn't exist without her. I wrote it for her. And anytime there was even like talk of like, well, could somebody else do it if she's not available or if her schedule gets crazy? I was like, I'm not. Like, can you imagine like some like, just someone without that gravitas, for lack of a better word, or that personality, like pulling off that role. Anyway, so all to say, and to kind of go back, we were talking about earlier, once you get into like body horror or physical effects, or let alone creature effects, yeah, people get very nervous.
Well, her performance is great. She was really funny throughout the whole thing. I just love how her character is just like decreasingly so as the movie goes on, but just like as it starts, she's just so indifferent and like could not give less of a shit about what's happening. She just wants to feel good and just be left alone. And just that bringing that energy throughout the whole thing just kept it really entertaining.
I remember she wrote, or her improv is like to me the funniest line in the movie when she talks about there's a scene where she's working in the motel where she talks about her vagina hair being bisected, like half her vagina's hair and the other half is shaved.
Do guys actually like that?
I don't know what the fuck these guys want. That's why I have one side of my pussy really hairy, the other side shaved bare.
She said that. That's her. That's all her improv in the scene. She said it. We fucking cracked. We all laughed our asses off. We had to like cut and redo it and do the line again. But yeah, man, I didn't write that. That's fucking hilarious. Again, to kind of go back to being like a fan or a kid in the candy store, there were definitely moments where, I was in my early 30s. I'd done some things here and there and had, seen behind the curtain, so to speak. But here I was fucking directing Natasha Lyonne. Like I was fucking psyched. I was a fan. It was like, imagine like whatever, getting to work with like something that is going to make you look fucking really good and like, or, make it or elevate the material, so to speak.
And while we're praising Natasha, I gotta say that, I mean, maybe she's told you because you're friends with her, Danny, but how is she not aging? Because I remember watching movies with her when I was a kid, like American Pie and Detroit Rock City, and she looks like the same, like now, you know?
It's baby blood and avocado toast seems to be the regime.
Interesting. So I
Adrenochrome.
was drinking the baby blood, but the avocado, that was the missing piece of the
Yeah,
puzzle. So
I
that's-
definitely. No, she's aging gracefully for sure. I'm jealous. As a tall man, gray hair on my face and back problems, I'm not looking forward to the next phase of life.
I'm
So-
already having the back problem, so I'll be there soon.
Yeah, it's just inevitability at this point. But yeah, so with like the role of Lou, like you wrote it for Natasha, but do you find? I mean, a lot of people that are writer directors insert some degree of themselves into their protagonist. Like what was the balance between this character being sort of Natasha and what part of it was Danny Perez?
I think there's some. I try to not do that too much, just for the sake of having fun and trying to like write something new and not be too navel gazing. But any of my friends will tell you that like, oh yeah, that's a lot of Danny. Like, dude, that's definitely. Not to brag or say, oh, I'm so cool and snarky, but I definitely share a similar irreverent and dark sense of humor. Obviously, that is present in the movie. So I think as far as like the first movie you get to make or the first time you get to work with a cast, like maybe that's just an indulgence or a mistake all writer directors do. Is like, well, the first time I make a story, I want to be a story with the kind of person I want to hang out with, or the kind of person I envision myself being, even if it's a thinly veiled version of that. So there might be some of that to it, but it's also just I just like that. I mean, now we're talking about a chicken and an egg type situation, but I like snarky, just adolescent energy and just like kind of like thumbing your nose at all our masters, so to speak. So that was just the kind of anti-hero that I wanted to write. And yeah, so naturally that comes through in my own humor.
And you're
Nice.
also constantly trying to finish your half of the conversation through half inhaled bong rips, I'm assuming.
You know what I want to do? I want to be like the guy who weathers up.
She did some of the most amazing bong hits ever. Like I think it was like tea or some. Obviously, I mean, she's sober, so it was not weed, but she did amazing bong hits. But my father, who fortunately is still alive, his only review of the movie, and my mom still, she won't watch it. She hasn't seen it. But my dad literally was like, and he has a thick Cuban accent, was like, I really hope you don't know people like this in your life.
Like, I live in LA. That's I can't exactly
there is,
avoid
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I was like, really? That's all you have to say about this fucking movie? Of my life making is you hope I don't know people that take bong hits. But I
While they're
appreciate
pregnant with an
Yeah.
alien baby.
Well, Greg
I
and I
mean-
were talking about the bong hits
feel like-
actually.
Sorry.
It was a big deal because like I've seen a lot of movies. I'm a bong guy. I watch movies where people are taking rips from bongs. I'm like, this person's like never smoked a bong in their life, or like they'll add like this CGI smoke and stuff like that. And it's just something looks uncanny valley about the whole thing. But when I was watching Antibirth, I'm like, this is like legit.
No, there was definitely not weed. I mean, if anything, I even had like real weed in a bag for a close up because the prop person had like this shitty weed, and I was like, well, I refuse to have like weed this terrible looking in my movie. And the AD, the assistant director, fucking hated me and hated Natasha, and would remove the weed. So, oh, you're not allowed to have that on set. That goes against you. I was like, I'm not trying to smoke on set, man. And yeah, that was another challenge. Like the AD, who's literally supposed to be like your right hand guy as a director or woman, or just your first aid on set to keep that moving, just fucking did not like me, did not like Natasha, and it was a challenge.
Well, not to defend this person, but in my experience, it seems like pretty much every assistant director has some degree of like contempt or hatred that drives them in order to get the thing done. I think that's kind of a job requirement.
I definitely will not be hiring that person. So listeners beware. I literally would put music on, fucking like some light folk music in the morning, just while we were loading into set. And I'd go outside to have a smoke, and I'd come back and I'd turn the music off because that's against like union rules. And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like I literally can't play like folk music because it's kind of like it's like cool. Way to help me create a nice atmosphere here. It's negative 20 degrees outside.
You should have just played ODDSAC, just the audio. Get everyone in the mood.
Yep.
But yeah, there's there's all the things you don't think you're going to be dealing with when you're writing a movie and hoping you get that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like so, you shot it not too far from where I am here in Toronto, Canada, in Sudbury, and we've talked about this a bit before, but for people that are listening now, explain the nightmare that is Sudbury.
Sudbury is Toronto is amazing. I love Toronto. If I could live there, I would. Sudbury is a town that's about 4, maybe 5 hours north of Toronto. Mm-hmm. So it's super fucking cold. We were there in February. I've never experienced cold like that. Literally like negative 20 degrees.
It's brutal.
And it's just, it gets sold to you when you go to Toronto and you get this Canadian tax credit. It gets sold to you. I was like, oh, you're going to love it. There are these crazy rock fields and it looks like these sci-fi lunar landscapes. What they don't tell you is that it's just a normal suburban town, which is fine. It's not their fault. It's not a big city, but it's just like a dumb suburban little town in the middle of fucking nowhere. And yeah, if you want to shoot in that cool lunar landscape rock field, you have to move your entire production out there. And guess what? You're a small indie movie. So no, let's shoot it in the parking lot of the fucking Starbucks instead, et cetera, et cetera. So that was frustrating. I did get some, I feel like I got some some good dingy locations out of it, and the local crew was really nice and easy to work with. But yeah, the weather was brutal. It was definitely, I had a lot working against me as far as being first time filmmaker, dude from LA.
It counts twice.
Yeah, and I'm making this weird movie. So it was I made a very conscious effort to try to just be a good, someone good to work with and a good team player. But yeah, it's brutal up there. I can't say I recommend it. Maybe it's changed a bit in the past couple of years, but it was rough. Like
global warming has kind of helped with the coldness, but it's still pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I originally wrote the movie to take place in Joshua Tree, California, like the desert. It was supposed to be like, like a meth heads in the desert, like kind of situation. And so when we got the tax credit from Canada, they were just like, well, it's not the desert, but they have desolate landscapes. And I was like, sure, let's do it. So unfortunately to Canada, we do pretend that it's Michigan in the movie, which I've heard some Michiganders say they're like, that's the most accurate depiction. Like, living in like one of these like towns in Michigan, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Honestly, if I hadn't known that you shot it in Canada, I would have just assumed that you just shot it in small town Michigan because it looks authentic from what I can tell.
That works too, but yeah, I think if I had my druthers and I could do the movie again, I would do a lot less exteriors and spend a lot more time in the trailer and just do like funner like set pieces or just have it be a more like contained freak out. But it's that first film kind of syndrome where you're just like, I want to cram all these crazy ideas into it. I will say this, I do want to continue this conversation. I'm having a great time, but in case I lose a connection in a moment, I will call you right back.
Cool. Okay. Thanks for the heads up.
But yeah, it's there are really good things about that system as far as getting money from like a place like New Mexico or Canada. It allows films like this to get made because, like I said earlier, I knocked on a lot of doors, and in the end, it was just like, well, we can get money from this guy, but it was such a weird like just not a Ponzi scheme, but a weird like Rubik's cube of like bullshit as far as getting the money made. Because it's like to Natasha and Chloe, they were making this like indie kind of hangout Sundance movie with this kind of experimental kind of guy, to the Canadians, they were like, we're making a horror movie with these Hollywood actresses. And to the director, it's like, well, I'm making an experimental art film with genre touches and a crazy soundtrack. And occasionally those three different films like commingle and collide, but you know, it doesn't help the chain of communication when not everyone's on the same page.
Soundtrack by Eric Copeland, which is cool because that's how you met the Animal Collective guys way back in the day, right? As you were doing visuals for Black Dice.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd always wanted to work with Eric in that capacity as far as getting him to score a longer term project. And I think he did a really good job. In the end, it was kind of like filled in with like a composer in Toronto that was working out of the facility that we were editing, did some of the more dramatic, like traditional cues. But yeah, I think I always wanted the score and the soundtrack to kind of occupy this sonic cross section of analog synths and like outsider American like weirdo rock like Dead Moon or like Suicide, and having those two kind of sonic palettes interact with each other. And I I like it. I was really happy with it. I was a little disappointed at the time that we weren't able to like tap into like music press or kind of like expose that audience to the movie, but it was just, yeah, it was an interesting lesson that those two worlds don't often necessarily intermingle, like the indie film world or even just the film world and like indie music or experimental music. Like it's, you know, it's one thing to have the guy from Arcade Fire like score your Spike Jonze movie, but to have the guy from Black Dice score a body horror movie, like, yeah, less people are going to be excited about that.
Well, there's a bit of a connection because you did get Dave Avitair to do that little Fun Zone theme song for the commercial. Which I think that's actually how this movie came on my radar. Like I had known your name from, you know, ODDSAC and the other music videos you had directed, but that was all I knew about the movie was that existed. So when that popped up watching it this time, I was like, oh yeah, that's all. And it's actually cool that it wasn't just like a throwaway gag, that you actually do visit the Fun Zone and you get to see the costumes in person. And yeah, just all that looks really cool. Kind of going back to the locations, I had two questions. The first one was the trailer a set, the interior?
Yeah, the interior is a set. We were inside like in typical Canadian fashion in a former hockey rink up in Sudbury.
Of course.
And on location, when you see the exteriors, it's literally just like three walls. Like if you stepped around it, you would have seen just like an exposed facade. And I think we were like next to like a dog run or a veterinary clinic. So if you pan the camera just slightly to the right, rather, you would have seen like parking lot and like, you know, a bunch of fences and such. But it just fit the atmosphere I was looking for.
Yeah, very very deliberately framed exteriors of that trailer. And then the other one other question I had was there's a sequence where they like break into this dilapidated building where that like makeshift alien forced pregnancy surgery sequence and like the flashbacks happens. Was that just like some rundown building, or was that like designed to look as old and abandoned as it was?
It was just like a big fucked up old building that in typical gentrify the world news was getting turned into like trendy high-rise condos after we filmed there. And we actually had to, it was when we scouted the building and said, oh, we want to shoot here, we had like this moment of conflict because the guy who owns the building was like, well, you're making a horror movie. What kind of movie are you making? I want to make sure there's not like, you know, anything that really fucked up in this movie that's going to like, you know, attract negative attention to the property. Anyway, so we had a moment where like, do we tell them what exactly this movie is? And in the end, we told them, oh, it's a party scene. Actually, and then in the end, the actual impregnation scene where she gets, you know, tied down and so forth, we actually ended up shooting back at the warehouse where we shot the trailer because we ran out of time that day in the actual location. So in the end, we just shot a big party scene there with some flames.
Were you the guy in the rubber alien suit at the end, or was that someone else?
No. That was the effects person. I'm embarrassed to say I forget their name. I'm sorry if you're watching this and I forgot your name. That was the effects person, Dave. I'm looking them up right now. That was the head of the effects department.
Well, you do have a cameo in the trash fire party sequence at the very beginning, which surprised me. Is that not you?
No.
It looks exactly like you.
There's someone that looks exactly like you in that
There's
scene.
like they cut to a shot of just like a guy with long. It's got to be you. Maybe you just forgot.
I am in the various flashbacks. The guy in the hood that's like reaching and those flashes. That's me.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you edit any of those flashy parts, or was the editor just sort of pulling your style?
I know I did that. That was all like I edited those. I shot those with like a lens in front of the camera, and it's just like me going like that, wearing that hood because I needed more. I needed some inserts like that, so I shot that in L.A. Oh my
Yeah,
god!
I was actually going to ask about that. Like with the editing, was that like a conscious decision for you to sort of step back as being the primary editor on this film, or was that something that kind of happened through the
Tax money thing? It was literally like you're shooting this movie in Canada, so you have to hire a Canadian editor. So it was not my choice at all. Now, the happy accident, just to rewind, David Scott is the name of the guy who plays the monster. And he was the head of the effects department. He did an amazing job. I apologize, David, that I forgot your name. It's been 10 fucking years. No, that was part of the deal. You have to use a Canadian editor. Now, in the end, to be fair, the post and the editing was my favorite part of the movie. It's this guy named Aiden Bahadori that I'm still very good friends with, and he did a great job. And he was like, they had a set up in a post house not far from, oh my gosh, off of Queen and Yonge Street. Anyway, it's a place called Red Lab, just typical like post production facility, very nice, free coffee in the lobby type shit. But the editor had the wherewithal to be like, I don't think Danny's going to like this place, and like we should go someplace else. So he had a friend that had a loft like a little bit outside of the city, like a warehouse type space, and we just holed up there for like a couple weeks, and we're getting pretty blasted and just making the movie and having a really good time. And he would let me like do certain things like the edit as far as editing looks and motifs, but when it came to time to like file management and just editing a scene from basic coverage, I was happy to pass that off to him because that stuff can get not that exciting. But yeah, that was honestly the post production was probably the funnest part of the process. Production was kind of hell, and post was really fun.
Well, at least you were warm in the editing suite, so.
Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time in Toronto that year, and I grew to really like the city. It was I was staying in a lot of different Airbnbs, like all over different parts of the city. And I've told my wife often if we get to leave the U.S. I mean, Toronto is just as expensive as LA at this point. But anyway, I would not mind living in Toronto one day. I think it's a great city.
I was reading some of the critic reviews for this movie. I'm not going to quote anything negative to bring your day down or anything, but
no, I've literally gotten mostly negative reviews. So it's the New York Times review. Did you read that one?
I only really saw like the blurbs. I didn't read full reviews, but
it's literally like one of the worst reviews I've ever read, and it hurt. It bummed me out for a while, and now I can laugh about it and I dig it. But I remember at the time we were doing a screening in New York, like the IFC people set it up, and it was supposed to be the premiere, and the New York Times review had just come out, and I saw them all like looking at their phones and be like, "Oh, don't tell Danny, don't tell Danny." I was like, "What? What?" And they're like, "Oh, the New York Times review is out," and it was. I mean, they literally like he calls watching that movie basically a traumatic experience, like in a negative way. Like it was so bad, I fucking hate it. And like one day I'll meet someone that had the misfortune of seeing it as well. So yeah, it was brutal. So anyway, but yeah, there are some good ones.
Well, one of them compared you to David Lynch, which I'm assuming is not the first time that comparison has ever been made in your life. And so my question is, do you think that's a fair comparison? Does it annoy you? Is it like when Animal Collective gets compared to the Beach Boys? Is it just like, ugh, this again? Or is there any truth to that? Like that you were inspired or anything?
I mean, certainly seminal films and very valuable to me when I was younger, and I definitely mourn his passing. I think the last season of Twin Peaks is some of the best stuff he'd ever done. It's a little lazy, not unlike that Animal Collective comparison you made. I do resent it a little bit because it's like anytime anybody sees something outside of the box or remotely surreal, they're like, "Oh, it's like David Lynch," and it's just a way to make it to dismiss and like put you in a box. When, if anything, the whole point of making work like this is to think outside the box. So I do. It does annoy me. I won't lie. I also get annoyed when people are like, "Oh, you have to be on drugs to understand this." Whereas I feel like you have to be on drugs just to fucking understand the world we live in right now. And so maybe that's not a bad thing.
But
Yeah,
you've said before it was more like Frank Henenlotter and like I mean I don't want to put Cronenberg's name in your mouth, but that would be a more apt comparison, I feel, because David Lynch doesn't really do body horror. But I will say, you brought up the last season of Twin Peaks. I actually kind of felt a similar vibe watching this, even though this predates that final season. So maybe it was just in the air, that sort of like filth and like evil emanating from society that these characters find themselves in.
I mean, mind you, I would be so lucky to make anything as good or as with as much appeal as David Lynch made. I don't mean to even put myself in that same lane, but yeah, there's a whole world of surreal kind of experimental work out there and there are even different subgenres within it, right? So I think the average person that is kind of like a tent pole or that's a figurehead for like weird cinema, the same way Wes Anderson fits in a certain lane for them. So I don't blame people. Not everyone is a nerd like we are and like likes to devour lots of stuff. So, but yeah, it's a little annoying. Gets to be a little dismissive. And I have other friends that are filmmakers that make even better stuff and even weirder stuff, and they face similar comparisons sometimes too. So I wish he was still around and could have made more stuff. I definitely think he was fucking awesome, but I really resent like figureheads in our culture, as far as like it makes people lazy, and I think we need to like fucking just tear them down and create new whatever, give new voices a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think that really to cap all of this off, I think for what it's worth, you do very much have a distinct style. And maybe it's because I'm so acquainted with the Animal Collective sphere and having seen all of the stuff you've done with them before. But now, if there's a new video and I click on it, there's a good chance I'll immediately be able to be like, oh, this is a Danny Perez video, isn't it? And then I scroll down and it's, directed and edited by Danny Perez. So I think that I don't want to say that maybe someday we'll be saying this is David Perezian instead of David Lynch or Danny Perez. Sorry, David is your brother.
Use that.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to get into that, but that was certainly
that's a whole
thing
other,
that happened.
That's a whole nother podcast we have to discuss.
We'll spare you.
But speaking of the future.
Mm-hmm.
What does the future hold for Danny Perez? I mean, we're talking about Antibirth coming up to 10 years ago. I mean, have you got anything else cooking in the world of feature films?
Yeah, I have. I won't lie. I had the past 10 years has been I had some health problems. Then there was COVID. Then my house caught on fire. So I've had a good couple years of life just kicking me in the nuts. I'm luckier than most. I have a lovely wife and a stable home, and I do like my situation here in LA. But yeah, I'm trying to get back on the directing horse. I have a script right now that I'm finishing up that I'm trying to get out there with some financing. On the more experimental side, I have my music project that I call DPSD, and that has a large video component to it when I play. And I'm finishing up a full-length record there later this month, actually, in North Carolina. And so that takes up a good amount of my time as far as playing shows and getting the video ready. But yeah, I'm definitely looking to get back into directing as far as a feature. But yeah, it's not easy getting the really weird stuff financed, and it's only gotten like harder to get people's attention in the past 10 years. It's kind of like I said, that I think we are going to show, at least I am looking back on that period of 2010 to 2020 being like, okay, so what happened culturally? This was like pre-COVID. We're right in the beginning / middle of the streaming boom, like when Netflix and Hulu was like, we're spending tons of fucking money and giving we're giving all your favorite legacy filmmakers money to do a TV show. Like there's so much shit got made in those 10 years, and I tuned some of it out because like after Antibirth and my whole experience with that, I was just like, I need a fucking break from the world. It's just like I just need a fucking break. And I took the break and I made a lot of artwork and a lot of weird music and toured with Noah a lot, doing stuff for Panda Bear. But yeah, it's I'm always trying to figure out a way to bring these more experimental techniques and motifs to like a narrative film. And yeah, I think finally like the TikTok adult brain and media saturated world we live in might actually be conducive to my brand of insanity.
Yeah, I
So
can
you're
see
saying
that.
ODDSAC 2 is next?
We've talked a lot about doing another project and so forth, and not necessarily outside too, but we every now and then we talk about doing something again, and mostly just because we like working with each other and like hanging out, and I can still just like sit around and watch dumb Tubi shit with Dave and laugh my ass off. It's I love that stuff, but it's not out of the question. At some point, I do need to do an upres and a proper like HD version of ODDSAC. I'm just being lazy and trying
I'll
to.
do it. Send me the files. I'll figure it out.
I
There
mean,
you go.
hey, as a count, I think we can make it happen.
Uh, well, I was going to say, now that we're on the topic, well, first of all, the 10th anniversary was 5 years ago, and you had this great Halloween stream where not only did you put together this whole behind the scenes documentary little featurette, which was great, you also sort of did the visuals for their DJ sets that night. So it was a full Danny Perez experience. Are there any talks about plans for the 15th anniversary, or even more simply, like, have there been conversations as to like, we should probably get this on like Vimeo or some other official place, since the DVD, I'm assuming, is out of print?
No, we have not. We have not
Okay.
talked.
Well, I had the question, you had the answers, so
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Only because I think, and it's always something I respected about those guys and a lot of our peers. They're always just trying to think of the next thing in the future, and not in a dismissive or means towards instant gratification, but just creatively speaking, just want to do the next thing and do something new. And I've been really lucky over the years and over my adulthood to have those guys in my camp, and they gave me so many opportunities to develop that style and that voice. So I am. I realize I'm diverting a little bit now, but I just want to make sure that people understand that I am grateful for that. And there's a lot of really talented artists and filmmakers and musicians out there that don't have friends, and really cool bands in the early aughts that don't get these opportunities. So it's not lost on me that I had a lot of luck in that regard. That being said, I kind of shot myself in the dick by trying to make like really weird, abrasive stuff. So it balances out a little bit, but it's you do what you want.
So there's no plans to go with like a vinyl Blu-ray release or something, like some sort of combo duo to.
Oh, I mean, we have it's to just to rewind. It's not a hard no. We've definitely talked about this and talked about some kind of deluxe packaging and some kind of situation. It's just a matter of like getting around to doing it. And at this point, Plexifilm, the people that put it out, they made their money back years ago. So we would want to talk with them to see if they would even want to be involved. And but yeah, I mean, I think I was a little precious about it for like the first couple of years. Was like being like, no, it's its own thing. You don't isolate the audio, you isolate the video.
Well,
But
I still believe that, for the record, but
and you can do that, but it's definitely a stronger experience. But I try to take myself less seriously these days, and
does the AI upscaled, like artificially version of ODDSAC that's on YouTube, the 4K one, does that offend you that it exists?
I haven't even looked at it. So yeah, it offends me a little bit, but I don't blame them. I understand them.
You heard it here. We're calling you out, person whose name I can't remember.
It only offends me because I'm like, but I didn't supervise this, and I don't know if they added artifacts to it, and I haven't even looked at it because every time it does pass my algorithm, I'm like,
Well, it's like Inland Empire, where it's like the DV artifacts are part of the art and part of the aesthetic of the whole thing. So the
I won't
computer
lie.
doesn't understand that.
The urban cream sequence, the white and purple and blue lines, that I wouldn't mind getting underneath the hood, so to speak, because I've seen that look real shitty on YouTube sometimes. Like, there's a lot of detail and crisp lines in there that you're losing. So I think AI could actually be good for certain parts of it, and a lot of it is so high contrast color wise that I don't think it would be pretty easy to maintain like the visual integrity of it. But and mind you, to the
But
person,
you shot it in 540, right? Like, or like 480 standard def?
yeah, 720. It was the Panasonic DXV. It was like when 24p was a big thing right then, and basically at the time.
Oh, there he is. He said he was going to call us back if he got disconnected. Well,
We had pretty much made the
Hey, sorry about that.
here we go. I mean, you did call it, so
Sorry, yeah, I was watching my battery life die the whole time. What I was saying earlier is we shot that on the Panasonic DXV because it was either do you shoot with one camera in HD or do you have three cameras at 720-480? So that was part of the reason, or my way of working at the time was just create a mess of footage, shoot as much as you can, and then make something out of it afterwards, rather than something that's strictly storyboarded and such. So anyway, that was the reason for that. But yeah, it is not. I would like to do a higher res version at some point.
well, I'd like to see the black goop in its original resolution. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, that was high filling and RIT dye.
Yeah.
I was going to ask actually, so thank you. Now
Yeah,
we're getting a lot of mysteries about. We're not going to, we don't want to spoil all the magic, but these are good things to know.
But yeah, that's my recipe for black goo. Although I do not recommend the black dye because it definitely stains people's skin.
You'll get canceled for that in 2025, so you got to steer clear.
Yeah.
You don't want to give the wrong impression. Well, Danny, we really appreciate your time. You're very generous with your answers, and it's really it's cool that we're able to get such amazing, unique, in the nicest way possible, sometimes disgusting art, and so it's the fact that you're still working with them constantly, and like even the Love on the Big Screen visualizer, which came out like a month ago, that was you. Mm-hmm. So like we're never gonna not have Danny Perez to look forward to when it comes to this band, or even in general. And
I did see some kid commented on some Panda Bear video. Why is Danny Perez even allowed anywhere near Panda Bear? He needs to stay away from Danny Perez. He is a fucking ass. I was like, good God, man.
Well, it's only been 21 years since the Who Could Win a Rabbit video. I can't imagine why he'd still be around.
Yeah, I can't. Sorry, my friends give me opportunities, and I like their music. Sorry. Yeah, that's a real what an asshole.
You'll never hear us complaining. If anything, we get more excited when we see your name is involved. So.
Well,
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys, and the next I'll be out with Noah in September, kind of all over the U.S. doing this last Sinister Grift tour. So come out to the show, say hello, and we'll see you guys later.
Yeah, I'll see you in Oklahoma City.
If you can convince Noah to add a stop in Toronto on this leg, that'd be sick.
I would love that because Toronto in September is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, well, listen, I appreciate you guys, and be good out there, everyone.
Thanks, Danny. Have an awesome day.
You
See you
too.
soon. Take it easy.
Bye.